We're all here. We're responsible adults talking about professional wrestling. By the way, guys, quick question. We got Cody Rhodes and the Wheatley vodka. We got Dwayne Johnson and Tramana, the Terramana tequila. It's a shout out to Dudesy fans out there. What would be Doink the Clown's liquor of choice?
Absinthe.
Yeah. Otherwise, the only thing it would be like cotton candy vodka.
Yeah.
Oh, God, dude.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like flavored,
like a melon
goofy
liqueur.
ass. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
Green melon liqueur. Yeah. I can see that.
I was thinking just clown juice, but you got to say it like that. And it's got
That
to
sounds like he
real
ringed
nasty.
out a clown into a
He just grabbed.
I don't
Hey,
care
come
for
here.
that.
Let me have some of your clown juice.
Oh, I don't want to. Oh God.
All
Do we
right,
have to
let's
change
start
the rating on this video now?
Let's start the dang show. Welcome back, everyone, to Rebooked, the show where we talking about men and women slapping meat in the middle of the ring and telling stories in the process. I'm Golden Boy, a.k.a. GB. You got yourself the Drama King, the one and only Matt, and you got Mr. Ratings himself, Jake, coming
the demo
in
god.
hot. The demo god, the viral hit maker, the legend in the flesh. Fellas, I'm back in California.
Yes, you're in
welcome
your home.
home.
You're comfy again.
Oh man, it's been
Stuff
a
works.
minute. It's been a minute. But what are we going to talk about today, you wonderful smarks? We have so much to discuss. We got the standoff between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns.
Oh, not only that, we've got the shocking end to Monday Night Raw.
And we've got Christian Cage versus the Rated R Superstar. And a hell of a banger of an I Quit match.
That's right.
We
And
had to complain
Okada.
about volume. I'm just trying to help.
I
with the
get it.
volume.
I get it. And Okada makes history in AEW. We got so much more to talk about. This is Rebooked. We are back. Make sure you follow us on all the socials. Okay, first and foremost. That's very important, okay, because we have to become social media famous. Also, check us out on all the podcasting platforms. Working on others, by the way. I heard YouTube Music now does like podcasting, so going to try and see if we can get the show on there. You would think it'd be a lot easier to get these podcasts across different platforms, but no, they are, RSS feeds are
Pain in the
apparently
ass.
the thing of the past. It's really, really annoying. And if you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you give us a like. You can also subscribe. We really would like for you to join us here. We got some, we pump out shorts pretty much every single day. We also have, which provide recaps and things for the episodes that are that you're checking out and all that good stuff. So welcome. And last thing, join us on Discord. But more on that at the end of the show. Let's go ahead though. And firstly, how the hell you guys flipping doing? You guys doing good? You miss me?
Not too shabby. Not too shabby.
Hanging in
Yeah,
there.
did you miss me at all?
This is the best
miss
part
me
of
in
the
my
week.
LA setup?
Well, I mean, in theory, our relationship essentially is the same. You just have a different background.
Do you have a new sandwich that you can try today?
Yeah.
That was really kind of the best part of it.
Wait, did you what new sandwich?
The
A new
is the
sandwich.
star
Remember you
of
had a
your-
sandwich last
your
week?
exodus.
You had your
Oh my
chicken
god, I don't have
sandwich?
dude, honestly, listen. I drank a lot of alcohol in Madrid, a lot of wine.
Yeah,
okay.
that's the place to do
fair amount of beer. Interesting amount of Guinness. Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Which
yeah, yeah.
itself
It was-
is like drinking a
weird.
sandwich.
Spaniards love Guinness, huh?
Well, dude, they have these like, you get custom cups for Guinness, right? They like take the can out and they pop it in, but then they put it on this like machine that like I guess does something to the carbonation within the Guinness, or like recarbonates it or something like that. So it
Just
actually
a
makes
repurposed
canned Guinness.
paint shaker from like a
I guess
Home
so.
Depot or something.
It's like that segment from The Simpsons. Remember when he put the Duff
Yeah, the
can in
beer.
the-
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
can?
Yeah.
That's basically what it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was great. It was great, but we got so much to talk about. There's guys, this has been a really wild week in wrestling, just because of honestly like big changes in AEW, big debuts, and also like continuing stories. And on top of that, WWE has just been out of this world. And then there's all sorts of other stuff. We just don't have enough time to dive into it. So let's just first talk about some AEW. And of course, Jake's favorite theme song, Say Hey Ho, Say Hey Ho. And Mercedes Moné, because I thought it was Mercedes Moné, but no, it's Mercedes Moné. Which I actually, I'm okay with. Well, I have no other choice. That's her name. And she came out, and there's something that I wanted to kind of point out here. Does anyone else get the vibe that Mercedes is kind of like a douche?
Like, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's funny. She's
The motor company?
babyface because
She's a babyface by just,
just because of star power, right? And
because
people
she
have been
showed up.
to see her back on U.S. TV, Western TV kind of thing, in a major promotion. It was just exciting for that. But her character, and I'm sure she would agree, is kind of a through and through heel. She's the boss. She's the CEO. She's cool. She's slick.
Yeah.
She's better than you. She's more stylish. It's that classic kind of heel.
Yeah.
I think we're getting there eventually, no matter what.
Yeah, name a likable CEO.
Yes. Yeah. Well, like what a gimmick to roll with in 2024 when we're in the process of late stage capitalism. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Yeah. The reason why I say this though is because she comes in the ring, right? She's talking about doing a lot of rhyming. I love the fact that she rhymes so much with a lot of her promos. And then she like runs a video about just how famous she is and how awesome she is. And Jake, I feel like I'm watching it and I'm like, I mean, that's kind of douchey. She's like, oh, hey, I'm such a big deal, and I'm here now, and that means that it's going to be a global women's wrestling revolution, and it's like, oh, but you're the good guy, right?
Yeah,
so
it just like it was frustrating because I'm like, you did with Mercedes what you should have done with almost every other one of your talent. Like you gave her a package telling us who she is. We know. Like, do that with someone who hasn't been a multiple-time world champion in the U.S. Like,
yeah, that's fair.
Do that with
that's
the
fair.
other talent. Like, and if it's a character choice, okay, that's one thing. But if it's like I don't know if they know who Mercedes is. We know who she is.
Yeah,
she didn't need
if
that.
There's one.
The
if
hype,
there's one
like the
example
hype
of
has
someone,
settled. We don't need.
who
Yeah,
doesn't
we
need it.
Yeah. Imagine if they did that for The Rock. Now, I mean, it's not exactly the same thing, but imagine if people were like, well, hey, in case you didn't know who I was, this is what I've been doing. And it's just highlights from the Fast series. Like, what are they going to, I mean, I
don't know. No. Hobbs and Shaw. Sorry.
Yeah,
sure.
And
yeah.
to Jake's
and
point,
Jumanji.
though, but honest, The Rock we have now, the final boss, Hollywood heel Rock, would do something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
let me show you why I'm such a. Let me show you why I run things around here. Play the clip, and it's his movies and his products, and you'd be like, "Q."
Which is what leads me to believe that we are going bad guy with her. I mean, like,
eventually, it's just a matter of when.
Because
they're
she's
debating
better
this right
as
now.
a heel. She's better as
100%.
she's so good as a heel. She gets it, and you can tell she enjoys the hell out of it too.
Yeah,
so,
I feel like that, and now this is what makes it weird though, right? Because I'm left wondering, well, what's going on here with Willow? Because lights go out, Julia Hart, Sky Blue come out. By the way, we're not going to talk about it, but I do want to give a massive shout out to that hardcore match that Willow, Julia, Sky Blue, as well as Chris Statlander had. That was awesome, and just a good way to show the grit of the division right now, and also the growth of the division, honestly. But they come out, they do their thing, and again, I think Julia Hart has been really perfect in this situation because she's very much like defending her turf, whereas like you have this new person coming in that's like inserting themselves into this story, and then, the lights go out again, and then you see Willow holding the chair, and she's like getting ready to like strike her. And I will say, I'm like a touch confused, but I'm curious because narratively, if the perspective that they're going with is Willow doesn't trust Mercedes and is going to take her out before Mercedes takes her out, right? Kind of like, get there before she does. Then I like where that could go, because then it could eventually go to Mercedes was always going to become a bad guy because, look at all the shit she's doing. But if it's just Willow being a bad guy, then I don't know if I like that.
What I think it is, and I'm trying to remember if this was explained via commentary, and even if it was, I don't think it's a good choice. I think they're trying to play off the fact that when Mercedes got hurt, which put her on the shelf for 6-8 months, last year or whatever it was because she was in a match with Willow in New Japan for the New Japan Strong Women's Championship.
Yeah.
But I don't like that, because even though there's a huge AEW is this weird anomaly for me, because I'm so used to the idea, and I kind of agree with the idea of like, we can assume wrestling fans are watching other wrestling, but I don't, especially when you have a big TV show, I'm not going to assume anything. So the idea that they're just kind of like, oh yeah, we know there's tension between them.
But they did show it in the video. They showed Willow winning the title, Mercedes being like carried out of the ring. They showed that match. So there is some kind of precedence that was set there. But I get what you're saying, though. It's also like, that is a thing that happened in a promotion that isn't in the United States for a match that at the time was rather inconsequential. And then, you're kind of expanding upon it now, because I think everyone looking at that match had assumed that Mercedes was going to win it. Right.
Yeah.
And then,
I just, it's also just weak because like there was coming out of that, obviously it was a real injury. So like nobody was trying to hurt anybody, but nobody even tried to feign that there was some kind of like heat or even storyline heat between Mercedes and Willow. Like now they're just like, I don't like each other because I happened to get hurt in a match I was in with you. Oh, you might stab me in the back. I'm not buying it. It seems like they're trying to yank a thread out of a cloth that doesn't exist.
Yeah, it felt a little. It felt a little contrived, like that whole moment of her with the, let me hold the chair. It
would have worked better if it was Mercedes holding the chair.
Yeah, agreed.
If you're gonna do that, if you're gonna play that story, it's like, I'm back here and I haven't forgotten about that.
Yeah.
And I'm pissed off. And then make her a bad guy because she's good.
I couldn't agree more. We'll see how this unfolds. I'm curious. I think that regardless, this is exactly what the women's division in AEW needed. Because even though I really enjoy Julia Hart as TBS champion, there hasn't really been much for her to do. She's kind of been like dancing back and forth with Willow and with Chris, and now with Mercedes in the picture, that really does add a really fun wrinkle to the whole situation. So we'll see what happens, and also seriously check out that hardcore match between Willow Nightingale, Chris Statlander, Julia Hart, and Sky Blue. That thing was awesome, worth the watch.
I'm glad they got that little bit of extra time too. I think that let us kind of breathe some, and I think that was good.
Because it didn't feel like they were going from spot to spot. It felt like they were really trying to like milk the big moments.
Yep.
And that is exactly what I want to see AEW do more of, in my opinion. And what I also think that they are starting to do, as it takes us into our next bit, which was Will Ospreay, baby. This guy just continues to come in week in, week out. Now, we've established what the story is right out of the gate. We know exactly what the story is. I'm better than you. No, you're not. Sure, let me prove it. Sure, go ahead. Okay, let's have a match. That's literally the story. But that's okay. Because, Matt, we were talking about this last week. You were like, you're a fan of, more of the narratives and stuff like that, especially with what we've been seeing in WWE. But with this one, it's like, I know that this is like an AEW tried and true trope, but for some reason, this one feels different. And I don't know, maybe am I like sipping the AEW Kool-Aid a little too much? But it does feel different.
I mean, I just think it feels maybe not different, but bigger or more appropriate, just because I think it's two people who are like legitimately, almost universally heralded as two of the
Yes.
best to do it going today.
Yes.
Brian and Will. And they've got a couple of those guys on AEW, you know, people who consider people like that. But there's a lot of
But
people
those
who
guys
sometimes-
consider Brian and Will to be
as well.
the best.
Yes,
so it's
yeah,
like
very
when the best consider those guys to be the best, then it's like, you know.
Yeah. And
argue
we
it.
talked about it, like, this, again, we want to see more of, like, narrative, getting characters involved with characters and stuff like that. But this is, I think, one of those appropriate sets of personalities where you can do, and it is interesting. And credit to Will, we've talked about how's he going to do on the microphone, how's he going to do in week-to-week storytelling. Will's fucking great.
He really is.
I was talking with Tom Hannafin this past weekend, and just kudos to Will for, he came out, cut that promo talking about his feet were too big for Bryan Danielson's shoes, and little things, man. Again, a guy who's not, I'm not saying he can't, I always knew he could, but who's not known for his promos, he had the audience listening to it, biting on every word he said. We talked about the moment he pointed at the shoes, the the shoes that were invisible on the ground. Everybody's attention went.
Space work. It's improv
again,
space work. It's brilliant.
Super simple, but the idea that everyone was so into that, like, what about Brian in Japan? What are you talking about? Oh, the shoe, and then pointing to it, like he commanded everybody. He commanded the arena, and I think he's off to an incredible start in AEW.
Nah, he's crushing it, man. I think because Jake, I know you weren't as exposed to Will Ospreay. Just like I'm sure, like a majority of people, just clips on the internet, seeing him do his flippy shit. That everyone just assumed that is like all he was about.
Right.
Have you kind of felt that same way too? That like we're getting like this new layer here of Will Ospreay.
Yeah, definitely. Like this promo really turned me on to him because I like the way that he's approaching things. Of like, I feel like you see a lot of people like this, and AEW's even done it to a degree of where people like this just come in and want to ride on their reputation, or at least that's how they're presented. Where Will seems excited, and he's like, let's fucking do this, bro. Like, he's excited. He's like, let's go.
Yeah.
You know, like he wants to fight. He's excited about the opportunity to prove himself, get in there with people. Like, and I think that's what's drawing me to it. Is it's not like his emotions aren't passive. Like they're like he just I can really feel the emotion, and when he speaks, it seems like he's ready to go, ready to fight, which I think will be an interesting contrast to how Danielson's been acting as of late, you know, just kind of the character work he's been doing. So yeah, I'm really interested in this now, because he cut a just very passionate promo, and it made me excited to see what is he going to do from here. I mean, the guy like it. There's people who can talk great wrestling shit, and then there's people who can talk great shit. And he was talking great shit. You know what I mean? And
really
I think
was.
that's what the difference was. It just it just felt more real. It felt more down to earth. And he had some great lines. I dug it. I really dug the promo.
I really did too. I was going to say, now this isn't like to knock on the guy, because I'm a big fan of his, but I think back to when CM Punk showed up in AEW, and he was doing very similar things. He was like showing up every week in, week out, kind of like cutting promos, but you could tell that it was like just CM Punk doing CM Punk things. Whereas this one, I think that maybe because so many people were like, I don't know if Will Ospreay can do week-to-week television. I actually think he kind of just came in here with like a real point to prove, because it wasn't just us here. I mean, you know, we're small potatoes, but like, you know, you had like dirt sheet guys that were like, that's why I like to call them the dirt sheet guys. They were the ones that were like really kind of pestering this narrative of like, can he do this? And I think it's just proven that he can. And on top of that, he goes in the ring like literally no one on this planet right now. So there is a lot of really good things that is going to come from Will Ospreay. I'm excited. And also he's going to fight Shibata. I love the fact that Shibata has kind of nestled himself into this role very similarly, by the way, to Shinsuke Nakamura. I was actually going to write a note about this, because I was like kind of bummed that Nakamura is being used as like a prop wrestler to kind of like legitimize guys. But then I realized that's actually an incredible badge of honor, because Nakamura till this day can just walk into a ring and feel like a threat. And it's the same thing with Shibata. He can go into a ring and just feel like a threat. You know that there's a possibility that if he won, no one's going to be like, oh man, why did Shibata win? You'd be like, oh shit, yeah, hell yeah, Shibata won. He's a motherfucker, you know. Like, so I think that is really cool, and I expect that match tonight between Will and Shibata to absolutely bang in ways that we have not conceivably thought of with our teeny tiny brains. That's my take on it, honestly.
And it'll be nice that it's free. It's on TV,
and it's free. It's on some free TV, so that's what you love to see. Speaking of free TV, we got more good stuff on that Dynamite episode. Okada is now the new Continental Championship, not the Continental Crown winner, because that's different. Yep. That doesn't, because that is like not a thing now. It's the Continental Championship, and I think coming into this, we all felt like this was a possibility. I also, we talked about this and if you haven't watched the episode that we did recently about ranking AEW titles, we definitely, shat the bed on that one there with Okada winning the title.
To no fault of our own. We can't. We can't.
See I don't sure, Mr. 24/7 title.
I gotta look back. I believe. Wait, didn't we? God, I'm so old. I think we kind of, or at least made the caveat of like, I think there's a big chance Okada could win it, and if he does, it kind of moves it up a rung.
Yes, we did say that.
We kind of did acknowledge that. We're like, if that happens, they're clearly putting investment in Okada, which means they're putting at least a little bit of attention and investment in that title.
Well, I'll tell you what really put it up a rung for me was not only Okada winning, but what solidified it was Pat coming out.
Really?
Seemingly, well, because it's. I mean,
why is that?
Not,
why is that?
It just I don't know, the fact Pac's another one who's just fantastic. He's been gone for a long time. He's believable. And the fact that he comes out and is like, yeah, I want a shot at you and I want a shot at that title. I mean, he didn't. It's clear that that's where it's going. But like,
sure.
I think I think it's not just about who holds the title. I think it's about who's challenging for it. I think that's what makes titles just as important is who's challenging for it. Why are they challenging for it? So I think that definitely solidified its importance going up a rung for me. Was and obviously even if he hadn't come out, Okada, automatically raises the prestige of a title, but someone a big a known name, a liked
an AEW
wrestler,
day one,
coming out and seemingly challenging, that nails it for me. This title definitely seems important for sure now.
I want to see this belt honestly become the workhorse title. This has to become the workhorse title, and I think Okada holding it kind of shows it's like this is the wrestling man's belt, But then the problem is that you have the international title in there too, and I will say that I've changed my mind like the wind. Okay, and I'm willing to bring the international title down a few rings because now that Adam Copeland holds the TNT title and Kazuchika Okada, you got to say it right, Marvez, damn it, and then he better be speaking Japanese next week or else we got a freaking problem because he's holding the Continental title. It makes me feel like this is the direction that they're going. But I really do wish that they do a unification match of the International Continental title. I'm going to call for it every single week so that we can get the International Continental title, a.k.a. the Intercontinental title. I'm telling you, dude, it's going to happen one way or another. It's in the cards, man. It's in the cards. At least I'll have a legitimate reason to call it that. Well, anyway, let's go ahead, though. Oh, and one other last thing I wanted to mention. I want to give a massive shout out to Renee Paquette for. I love the fact that they had her at ringside.
That I loved that. It was a sideline reporter. I thought it was fantastic. I'm a big fan of that.
But it was like a story setter as well. Yes. It like gave everyone an idea of what was happening in this matchup. They got to do that more. That's good shit.
Yeah, I really liked it. I even made a note specifically about that while I was watching it. I was like, love that bit. Do more of that, please.
Yeah, and she's so good at it, too. She's so smooth. Like, Renee just has awesome delivery. So, I mean, she's a freaking pro.
She's a natural.
Pros. So, like, it just really delivered the enormity of the matchup. And then also, like, Young Bucks just hitting the pyro button, yelling at Tony Khan, just being like, you see, told you. Like, all that. Like, it's just, Young Bucks have been perfect in this whole feud. I actually really do hope now that they win the tag titles and that the new elite kind of becomes this, really dominant unit. It's this really, really awesome stuff that's happening over there. But to round up AEW, we have Cope Cage 3, the I Quit match, and just bow down before those men. They put on.
It was really good. It was a lot of fun.
It's just a masterclass, really, of it was the two of them. Like, I don't think you can get away with that with many wrestlers, and that have that kind of history, have that chemistry together as well. But just Christian Cage hiding in the women's bathroom was just so freaking funny.
What was like? What would have been funny to me is I had written this sketch a long time ago. I think I actually submitted it to SNL of a police chase, and a criminal runs into the women's bathroom, and then the cops stop, and they're like, "Well, shit. Now it's a negotiation. We can't go in there. It's the women's bathroom." And
then the women are like coming in and out of the bathroom, using the bathroom normally.
So I almost wish Cope had just been like, can someone, like, if Beth had been there, can you go in and get him, please? Like something like that would have been great. But yeah,
that would have been awesome. Really funny.
Yeah.
I think stuff like that. It's those little details that Christian Cage did in this whole feud that really made him just feel so. He made that TNT title so important. I would go as far as to say, like, he elevated it nearly to the level that Brody Lee managed to elevate the TNT title when he held that belt. He made it feel so important, so vital. Christian Cage did exactly that, and that's what that belt is worthy of because of the people who've held it in the past. Like, I don't want the TNT title to ever go anywhere because it does have a historic place within AEW's history as its first, mid-card title that was introduced. So it was just really nice to see the belt be given that kind of importance. But now I guess, the question is, thankfully Adam Copeland didn't murder Christian Cage because that seemed like that's where it was going to go.
Sure.
Can't reproduce, more than likely.
I gotta give props to TNT for airing a live castration on their network. That was a bold decision. That was a bold decision, but I respect it.
Yeah, they definitely were okay with it. They were like, "Hey, WWE, they're cursing now. Why don't we just, cut a man's penis off?
Yeah,
that just sounds great.
Just perforate his genitals. Yeah,
yeah. But now I guess, where does Christian Cage go from here? What happens with the patriarchy? Does he need the TNT title in order for that to feel legit, or can we cool off on Christian Cage on TV for right now? Kind of give him a break. What do you think, man?
He's definitely the caliber of wrestler and personality, and especially with everything he's surrounded himself with, that he doesn't need it. I think we even talked about that, whether it was a couple weeks ago or what in the title scenario. The idea of we felt the title was important because it was on Christian, but we were saying, I don't think Christian needs that to do what he's been doing. Mm-hmm. I mean, he could just be a terror as this douchebag.
That's how it started, right? I mean, it started with him just cutting these salacious promos about Jungle Boy's father.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I would like to see him maybe go away for a little bit.
Okay.
The only thing that sucks about that is he's got so many people tied to him, like Nick Wayne and Luchasaurus. Kill Switch.
I think there needs to be
and stuff like that. And so I want what's that?
I think there needs to be some kind of payoff with them, whether this is the patriarchy starts to crumble.
It will probably be
Kill
Luchasaurus
Switch
who
wants his name
back.
Yeah, exactly. I never got my title shot, and now I want it, and
Sure.
and it's, I mean, you can even bill it like, Christian is, I'm too damaged, I'm too beaten and tattered. You go win the title for me, and maybe at some point he does. I don't know if it's off of Copeland or what, but he wins it and he won't give it back to Christian, and let him have it, and then that's so. I don't know, but I just like with Nick Wayne and Kill Switch, I just feel like there needs to be some kind of I just want some kind of payoff with that, and I think you can parlay it into something bigger. But I think Adam has a little bit of a run with it, and maybe Christian goes away to lick his wounds and recalibrate.
We'll it's
see.
just weird that like Adam Copeland's a TNT champion. It's like a weird. I'm not mad about it. Just want to be very, very upfront here. It's just because I'm an edgehead. All right. It's just a weird thing to say out loud. It's a weird thing because like now you're like, what happens from here? Yes, Adam Copeland was coming out and he was putting on some great matches in the Cope Open, with a lot of the roster. The Copen, the Copium Open.
Yeah. It's right
but
there.
I feel like there's certainly something. I want to see where they go. I have to see where they go from here.
About.
The Edge likes to do his storytelling. He likes to angle that. I mean, Judgment Day was his creation. Like he likes to go those routes. So let's see what happens. But overall, I'm stoked that we had one hell of an I Quit match. The crowd was white hot for it. The payoff was awesome. Adam Copeland nearly murdered a guy. There was just a lot of really, really cool things that transpired from there. So now we have to talk about the meat and potatoes, the big kahuna. Dare I say, the final boss. Now, here's the thing. Before we talk about what happened on Monday Night Raw, I think it is very important for us to talk about what happened on SmackDown. Now, there are a lot of storylines in WWE right now, okay? But what happened this week, I think, put this story, it was already far ahead, but it now, the distance is like a country mile. But what I did not expect, is the fact that the World Heavyweight title somehow, some way got elevated in the middle of this, which was wild. We'll talk about that in a second. But let's talk about first SmackDown. So we got we talked about it last week, the interaction between Paul Heyman and Cody Rhodes. Paul coming out saying, Tribal Chief wants to speak with you next week. I'll be there, but I'm only there, just observing, blah, 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 right? And then you think to yourself, oh, okay, this obviously there's going to be something that happens, right? And they came out, they had their promo, they went back and forth. I think Roman just continues to, I think Roman looked good in this instance. I think he needed to kind of put himself in front of a lot of the stuff that's been happening with The Rock, but I'm curious to hear what you guys think. But to kind of wrap it up, then we ended up seeing the Bloodline come out. Jimmy appeared. Solo appeared out of the crowd, and you're like, oh, snap, they're about to do it. But they didn't do anything because they promised. They were like, no, nothing's going to happen, right? So they just circled the ring like sharks in the water. And then as you think, Cody's by himself. Who emerges from the shadows? Freaking Seth freaking Rollins and main event Jey Uso all show up. And then it was like a really cool moment of like them kind of establishing like, hey, he's not alone in this. Like we are going to take you down. We are going to stop you. I don't think they will, but it was a cool little thing. It also continues to add on to the feud between Jimmy and Jay. But yeah, who wants to go first on this one? On the SmackDown segment specifically, is there anything that we want to discuss on here? Any thoughts you guys had regarding how Roman looked coming out of this? How Cody looked coming out of this?
Yeah, I got something. Sure. I am glad that they didn't go with the typical babyface trope of the idiot trusted the heel.
Yes.
I'm so glad that they didn't do that because it happens all the time. So the fact that he was prepared for it.
Yeah.
I loved that because I get so sick of seeing these, like, you know, you can be honorable and not stupid. It's possible to do that. Like, it's.
I'm trying to figure it out, but you can't.
I promise you, it's possible. And so I'm so glad that they did that with Cody. Of like, you knew he wasn't going to show up alone. You knew that Roman wasn't, or at least there were going to be some kind of shenanigans afoot. And sure enough, there were. So the fact that, and I loved the camera work on it, where it was showing Cody and then just pan right over and.
Bro, whoever made this, I mean, look, I don't know the guy personally, so I'm not going to say that much, but Kevin Dunn not being the camera guy or the guy who like calls the shots for the visual representation of WWE has really made the product so much better.
Value. Oh my God.
Because we're all nerds for TV production here, I would assume, right? We're all working that field.
Because that's
so
also part of telling a story.
That's huge part.
Yeah, it's also part of telling the story.
I'm so tired of the zoom ins. You know, the zoom ins were lame.
And the quick cuts, you know? And the like it's a fucking training montage in a bad movie. Yeah,
I showed it to a friend of mine one time, and they got a headache watching it.
Yes,
you know what I mean. Like you.
I've been in the truck when he's calling it. Okay.
Yeah, and like again, I'm sure he's a lovely dude. I don't know anything about the guy. I just. Okay, so then great. So I have no regrets here.
I'll say, he didn't talk to a whole lot of people. He just talked to the old man. He's nice enough, but he's a crusty guy sometimes.
A dude that just needed to move on.
I'll say that. Yeah, look, he had his ways, and like in his ways, he was an incredible live television. He was in the guy. He was like the Minority Report. He's got 12 cameras in front of him.
Yeah.
Ready one, take one. Ready two, take two. Take three again. Go, go, go. He's literally for 2.5 hours live every single week. And you know what I mean? Like he has a talent, a mechanical level of getting his style done. But I agree. His style was past and worn out, and I love what they're doing lately.
And not to skip ahead too much, but Raw had an almost 2-minute one shot coming back from commercial on a steady cam, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
It was good.
Oh,
that camera guy that they had doing that, whoever that was, honestly, like needs a lot of credit. I hope that they get like internally, like they got a lot of credit because it was a lot of complex movements that were happening. And as someone who has done segments with complex movements before, and Jake, I mean, we did it on G4 all the time, but then also like I've done it in esports events. It is so hard. And I've worked with some great operators, like great camera ops that have done some wild stuff. That was really well done.
And it takes a lot of people to do that too. Like it's the cam op, it's the director deciding to stick with it and let that moment breathe.
It's the guy behind the cam op making sure the cam op doesn't fall.
Yeah, I mean it's so much for just that one little moment, and the crew never gets enough credit. They never get enough credit.
Yeah. But on this show, we give credit to the crew.
I'm giving it to. We're
in most cases
today.
We're working with the crew.
Yeah.
So they need more. They need more love, man. Because that was But we'll talk about Raw in a moment. But yeah. So to that point, then you like the camera work. You like what they were doing. Mm-hmm. Did you feel like the segment between Roman and Cody did it hit well enough? Because I won't lie, for me, I kind of remember that moment more than I remember the promo.
Yeah, it felt a little empty to me. It felt a little placeholdery almost. Like now, I mean, some of the things that they said, I like him mentioning Cody just feels like a politician. I thought that was kind of nice. I thought that was a good line, but it felt kind of. Just kind of standard fare between them just to get to that moment. So yeah, I mean, coming out of it, like I said, the biggest thing that I got from it was that Seth is smarter than most of the people Roman has faced. You know, everybody to this point is like, I want to do it alone. It's me, and I'm going to beat you. And you can't do that, because the tribal cheat has had 900 times where someone comes in and helps them win a match. And finally Seth is like, why are we like, why are we taking this guy or anyone associated with him at their word? Like, stop. And so I was glad to see, I was so glad to see that. But yeah, the in between was just
Freudian slip.
Oh, you mean Seth or you meant Cody?
Who?
Jake.
Oh, what did I say?
You said
I don't
Seth.
know. I'm very
You said
intoxicated.
Seth twice.
Oh, my bad.
But
No,
you know what
but
though?
I almost
Cody.
wanted, I'm like, it's like a Freudian slip, because we've talked about sometimes, as awesome as a lot of the stuff in this story is, sometimes the focus is kind of, sometimes it's not always in
Kind of gets
the place
washed
it probably
out.
should
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Some of it kind of gets missed, and like, wait, why are we focused so much on these two when it should be? And remember, at the end of the day, this is all supposed to be about, I've got more on this on Raw, it all should be about coming at Cody and Roman, ultimately.
Yeah.
I mean, then Seth has his own thing where his own title, which also got better on Monday. But that sometimes in this Rock, Roman, Bloodline, Cody and friends, super friends kind of story, it does kind of focus gets shifted in weird places. So I just thought it was interesting that you had that slip, because that is happening.
They're both four-letter
the water's
names.
getting muddy.
And,
No, but the water has gotten muddied a few times, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't see, the thing is though, where I kind of disagree, where I kind of branch off in my own timeline here, is I actually like it. I like it. I like how real this all feels. And I think that takes us perfectly to Monday Night Raw. Because before we talk about the big moment at the end of the episode, heck, even before we talk about the CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, microphone boxing match, I want to bring attention to the fact that I'm fairly certain on TV this week, in a 3-hour wrestling show, they did like maybe, I don't know, 50 minutes of wrestling. And I'm okay with it. It was awesome. It was a great episode of Raw.
And while
it
we're
made
at
me,
it,
like,
let me
care about every hour.
Yeah, but to address the wrestling part of it, the Ricochet JD McDonough match was great.
So I didn't get a chance to watch it because I've been trapped. So what did you enjoy about it? What was it
just
about the
like,
match?
It was.
Oh, so who won that?
Ricochet won it. Ricochet
Interesting.
won it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, first of all, they had some really great, innovative spots that were just where it was like, whoa, where the hell? I don't know. It just felt like two guys who were like, fuck it, let's go out there and just put on a show, man. Like,
and that is something I wanted to note.
Make the most of it.
And that's something I wanted to note, because I think in this Triple H era,
they have so much
WWE,
more freedom.
Yes, and he, I think, really cares about putting on just good matches. Look at his NXT history, right? Like just the amount of gold that they produced back in the black and gold era of NXT. Whether it was Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura in NXT Dallas, whether it was DIY versus the Revival at what was it, the Takeover Brooklyn, a couple times, but I was there for the Brooklyn one, and that one shattered my brain start to finish. I mean, again, you could literally go through every single freaking match in that era and just see how much Triple H and Shawn Michaels prioritizes high caliber, high tier wrestling. And that is literally what they did on this Monday Night Raw. They were like, we're going to give you storyline here, storyline there, banger wrestling match right here, storyline here, storyline there, banger wrestling match right here. They didn't do, bullshit like, these two guys are just coming out and having a match this week, roll up pin. No, they put on shows. And it makes the roster feel important. Yeah. It makes everyone feel important.
I came away,
and I know.
I came away so much more impressed by JD McDonough. Like, yes, I didn't know he had it in him. Like, I mean, I was so impressed. Like, he's, it was one of those matches where you come away impressed in a loss
from the guy
for
who
a
lost.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that speaks volumes about that match, where I just remember, like, you know, kind of started off a little slow and just built speed and built momentum, and then it was just it was exciting. It was exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like it was. My mind is blown, like, of how good, like, that felt like a pay-per-view quality match to me. Like, it was great.
Yeah. Matt, what are
Good match.
You've been nodding. You've been like, I was waiting for a pop off, but okay.
No. Come on. So I didn't see the match, so I don't.
That's fair.
But knowing the guys that I know, like, I don't know, they're a really good match. So, like, you got to feed that to the people who want the really good match from two people who are wrestling for some reason. I don't know. I'm more into the other shit, man. Like, and it is. They are really good, and you need wrestling on a wrestling show. And
there is a storyline to it, though. There is a storyline to it. Ricochet's been kind of like a thorn in the side of Judgment Day week in and week out. And because he's just been picking up wins. He picked up a win over Dom, I believe. Then he picked up a win over JD. And
This
think
is his third in 3 weeks. They made a point of mentioning that. Yeah.
Which is big, especially for Ricochet, considering that, you know, and this kind of brings it back real fast to the Will Ospreay thing, because Will Ospreay was one of those guys who, you know, again, comes in, you're like, can he do this? Can he do that? And that was literally the same thing with Ricochet. People kind of forget that there was a point in time where Ricochet was the internet darling. He was like, everyone talked about how good this man was. It was him and Ospreay. Yeah, exactly.
In Japan doing their Superman poses or whatever after backflipping. That was the thing that blew up the internet.
Pissing off Jim Cornette.
Yeah.
You know, like getting all the old heads pissed off because there's a new era of professional wrestling and they wanted to say, sit the hell down, and even old man. Yeah. You know, like, I love that stuff.
Michael Cole a few times has referenced Prince Puma on the last 2 episodes.
Wait, he did?
Yeah.
Yo, let's fucking go, Lucha.
He said, he moved, like, I think it was last week, he said, I
have something to show you guys.
He moves like a puma.
Hold on a second.
And then they referenced it again last night.
Oh, okay. Not directly, though. Not actually saying.
No, he didn't say Prince Puma, but
bringing up a puma.
I'm
a massive Lucha Underground fan, by the way. A buddy of mine ended up getting me this thing.
Oh!
All the wrestlers had it signed. I got to get it framed and stuff. So if you're watching, or if you're listening, rather, on podcast platforms, I'm holding up a sign. It was a Lucha Underground poster, and my buddy got it signed for me, and it was signed by all the wrestlers that performed on there. I think Prince Puma's like autographed. Johnny Mundo right here, right on the side. Love that name. Was one of my favorite. Taya Valkyrie right here. También. Really, really good wrestlers. Like I think Montezuma as well. Or there's really like it was. The big guy. I forget the guy who Jeff Cobb played. Totally forgot. But in any case, I love Lucha Underground. So the fact that they had mentioned Prince Puma, because Lucha Underground was a show that I was like, oh my God, this is what I want pro wrestling to be. Like storylines and weirdness and like wacky, like tribal god shit all the time.
They leaned into it.
Yeah, I loved it. They leaned into their gimmick. They leaned into the fact that like this was like a underground battle in the middle of Los Angeles, and it was illegal. And so
there was the one like the crazed guy who was kept in like a fucking train car or something.
Oh my God,
in the shipping container for the longest time. Like
it was so good. Like that kind of stuff right there. That makes me so happy. I'm super stoked for Ricochet. So anyway, we kind of went off on a tangent there for a minute, but no, you're so right. Like. No, dude, please. Like, if there are wrestlers that we gush about, because we worked with Ricochet at G4, and we got to meet, like, the nicest dude ever. It's like him, Shayna Baszler. Like, I will fight and argue for them until the cows come home, because they were just such wonderful, lovely people. Claudio as well. I mean, always Claudio.
Great.
Miz, when he came through, Miz literally gave my mom, like, the greatest moment of her life when he twirled her, like, Dancing with the Stars. It literally just made her day. Like, I cannot stress enough. There's so many wrestlers that are just such good people, and I'm glad that they have success. And super happy for them. And then there's Matt.
And then there's Matt.
Slowly trying to scrape the bottom of any barrel I can.
Just terrible person. And
no. This is. You guys are too much. Okay, well, let's go ahead though and talk about Monday Night Raw.
Was
we'll dedicate
awesome.
the last
incredible.
part of Monday Night Raw. The last look, this I wanted to try and keep it under an hour, but guys, we got to cook. So let's just dive into
We
it.
haven't even talked about Drew, Punk, and Seth.
Do we want to talk about that first? Because I'm down to talk about that first.
We can just really quickly just put it over. Like, I think we finally refocused that world heavyweight, or what are they calling it? Is it the
World heavyweight title.
I'm so bad at that shit.
Yeah.
but after being a sideline, like Drew's kept his focus on it, but with Seth going back and forth between his stories, which has been a lot of juggling, it felt really, really good to see this really in focus. 3 guys who got a lot of freedom on the mic, and Drew
And didn't need to curse.
Off.
Didn't need to curse, didn't need to go all like foul mouthed, which is kind of a criticism that, people been having of The Rock lately.
Yeah. But I thought it was really good. Nice to see CM Punk work back in the fold after being talked about for so long. I didn't think he had to be, because I think Seth and Drew just on their own are fine. But after just all the shit talking with Drew and him, it was just good to see him. Like, you got to insert him somehow if you can. And so even just that little bit, and dude, they all cooked. I think somebody, I think our producer Scan pointed out, I think Seth probably came out the least, but it was just like the least good. Nobody did bad, but like I think it's Drew, Punk, and Seth.
I actually think Punk came out looking worse
than Seth.
Yeah, I actually think
I
that.
can see the argument for that.
Only reason why is because I feel like Punk, coming into this, doesn't really have a shoulder to stand on.
Literally.
That too. But as a performer, but that is the story, right? He comes in, his first match, hyped up, Royal Rumble, ends up getting eliminated, and then he gets hurt. Let's not forget that all that stuff, which they could easily use, all that stuff happened in AEW as well. So like he literally won a world championship, got hurt, right? Then he comes back, they give him a championship, the real world championship. Good God, I'm glad that did not move forward with that storyline. Because it was really confusing, and then gets hurt again, and then leaves. Well, actually, that one was more like he left, actually. So no, that one was that he got the fight. But anyway, point is, all the stuff had happened, and then he comes back, and then he gets hurt, and then he comes out talking crap. But the thing that I will give Punk credit for is he has such a unique way of telling his story, and he has such a unique way of being frustrated. Like, did you see when Drew came out? Like, when Seth came out, and he just grabbed the mic and he just started banging it on his head as if he was like being annoyed by these children or whatever. I thought that was great, but it also made Punk look like an asshole in like not a great way, which I also am kind of okay with. So,
and I think he's okay with it.
Yeah, I think he's okay with it too.
The one thing I thought where I thought Seth came out just not as good as he could have, is I feel like he's trying, especially because he's got the bloodline thing in his back pocket that he's doing, and he's a hardcore babyface there, and he's a babyface overall. But like, I think he was in this. Drew is a heel. He can unload. He can say whatever the fuck he wants. He can unload.
Yeah,
so he went off and he
popped
success.
Off. Yeah.
Punk is not directly involved, and he's Punk. His whole thing.
And you're in Chicago.
And he was in Chicago.
Right.
He can literally say whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Seth, I felt like just a tiny bit was like, I'm not going like as hard at Punk as I could. I'm giving him some edge, but like, I still want to be a babyface. I know we're in Chicago. I know I'm trying to be a babyface for the bloodline thing. I'm trying to be a babyface in this thing with Drew. So like, I don't think he went as hard at Punk as he probably could have or wanted to, because he was trying to like think like, I want to stay babyface. So I felt like he was a little restrained, even if it was just personally. Mm-hmm. So that's why I thought, that's why I thought maybe he didn't come out.
I got that vibe too. I got that vibe too. What do you think, Jake?
I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted because I liked what Seth had to say. I
did too.
I liked that he was like, I don't think about you, because while that seems heelish, it maybe only feels that way because we were in Chicago and he got and Punk got such a babyface reaction. He got such a big pop. But like, Seth's feelings are justified, and I think that they come across as heelish because he's saying stuff that maybe people
He's saying
don't
the
want to
truth.
hear. Yeah.
He's saying the truth.
Right.
You know?
So he's still, in a way, he's still justified. So I like that he's like, I don't think about you. And I like that he stomped Drew and just walked out. And he's just like, y'all can talk all this shit that you want, but at the end of the day, I've got the title. I'm about the action. This is how it's gonna go. I'm gonna stomp your fucking head into the ground, and then I'm gonna walk out with my title. So I kind of like that, and I like that he just walked right by Punk, didn't address him, didn't look at him, didn't touch him, didn't nothing. He didn't even turn back around to keep his eye on Punk. He just walked out.
Because he's not a threat to him. Because he thinks CM Punk isn't a threat to him. And I think that is where, you know, man, I have so many thoughts on like where this can go, but we would literally be here for freaking hours. But what is good is that the World Heavyweight Championship is back in the picture. Feels important.
Yep.
It feels like it matters. It should matter because that is the belt of Monday Night Raw, and Seth Rollins is the champion there. I still believe that Damian Priest is going to cash in that briefcase. I believe that is happening because, honestly, they alluded to it again. Drew said, I'm going to win a championship in front of a crowd, and I will finally have my moment. And it's like, there's only one thing that can take away that moment. There's only one thing that can take away that moment.
And think about it, too. Think of the moment on commentary when Punk watches Seth lose and then gets to watch Drew lose the title as well.
Yes, because that adds a wrinkle to this now.
Yeah.
Because
That's
then he said in that promo, he was like, I'm going to do something that both of you have never been able to do. Make yourselves interesting. And I was like, well, I mean, not true, but also just a great line. He also dropped the arms too short, the box with God against The Rock, which I do like that we're addressing things here. Honestly, and this could be me, I think Rock's sticking around. I think Rock is actually going to be a consistent character.
Well, let's get into that then.
Speaking of The Rock.
Let's do it, baby.
We started off
Monday
Raw.
Night Raw.
Yeah.
Holy crap, dude. So it starts off, Cody comes out, and he's politician Cody. You know, he's kissing the foreheads of babies. He's shaking hands. He's doing his thing. And then out of nowhere, bam! If you smell
Unexpected,
the final
unannounced.
boss. Unexpected,
appearance. Yep.
unannounced. Crowd pops. And that's another thing we're going to talk about because the crowd really sold this whole experience so well.
That entrance.
Go for it.
The camera work.
It was money.
Cutting behind Cody from far away and watching him walk out of the darkness. And then it cuts just as the lightning strikes.
Dude,
Boy,
his new entrance
he's
is
the final boss,
fucking
dude.
sharp.
He's that dude. He is the final freaking boss now. It's like I'm all in. I buy it.
At first I was like, how dare you invoke the name of one of the greatest Halo teams of all time, you sick son of a bitch. But instead, no. This guy has earned the moniker. He is the final boss. I believe it so much. And then he comes out and he doesn't say anything. He just goes straight to Cody and he whispers something in his ear. They even had a promo backstage where they're like, Rock, what did you say to Cody? And then Rock just says, why don't you go ahead and ask Cody? Now, I will admit, I fast forwarded a little bit because I just landed from Madrid, so I didn't get a chance to fully watch the episode. Did they get a chance to talk to Cody at all?
Yes, they did. And Cody said,
what happened?
Cody basically said, something to the effect of, I don't think it's appropriate to say what Rock said to me, or something like that. Yeah, but he wouldn't say what it was. Now, were you able to do a little lip reading to see what he said?
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
I didn't. Okay, what'd you guys
okay.
pick up?
Yeah, he said, tonight I'm going to make you bleed. That's what he said to him. And then he walked out. I walked like 3 or 4 times back, and I was like, oh shit. That's what he said. He said, tonight I'm going to make you bleed. And then he just walks out. He just left. Well, it was great. It was great.
And what was even better was, like, you know, he shows up unannounced, right? he's obviously got, they do the TKO gimmick. They got that whole thing going for them. And he does that, and it really does feel like he sits above everyone else. And you also get the reports that are coming out that I'm convinced are like 100% plants. Like, I really don't think that, like, maybe some people are annoyed that it's PG or blah blah blah, because Drew made a comment to that in the middle of that
PG
promo.
brother. Yeah.
But I really do think that, like, this is so. If this isn't intentional,
the whole thing about
then
some people in the back aren't happy that there's this double standard. The Rock gets to say whatever. Nobody gives a shit about that. They don't. No. They don't care.
I mean, but it could be. It could be, right?
It could be a little bit. I mean,
a little bit, but like enough to be. I don't know.
But enough. Yeah.
People. To be fair, people in the locker room have said that for years about anybody who gets to do any cursing in the PG era. Like, I remember the first time, I think it was like they were trying to get Roman. He was, this was peak, like, being shoved down our throats, babyface Roman.
Yeah.
And they let him say, like, bitch in a promo.
Yeah.
And, like, everybody in the locker room was like, well, I don't even get the chance to do that. He still can't get over with it. Like, what the hell? So people would complain anytime somebody gets a little extra. You've always hear it. So, like, I'm sure there are some real gripes or whatever. Anytime, like, if I got to use a table, like, in this, like, and I got to put somebody through a table, my story would get over too. Like, you hear stuff like that all the time. If I had that platform, which a lot of it is, some of it has merit and a lot of it doesn't. So,
but I do think though that it is really smart that if that isn't if this is more like plants, right?
It only adds to
only adds.
Yep.
It only adds.
Well,
and then
because think about what happened directly after those reports came out. Cody comes out and cuts a promo where he called Rock an asshole.
Yeah.
On Raw.
Yeah.
So that happening made me think that it was a plant and that they're trying to make this feel a little more like, oh shit, are we losing control of this? Is this about to be like a serious fight, a brawl? Like, I agree. Either way, I think it's great. I think it's great for business.
It's amazing.
Either way,
it genuinely is amazing. I'm over the moon with this. I think now if we dive a little bit further though, and we talk about what happened, so. He comes out, he says that thing, the show continues on, right? Mm-hmm. And you're kind of just led to believe, all right, maybe they'll resolve this next week. Because this is like what they're doing. Even Cody said it. He was like, we're in that awkward 2 weeks where no one really knows what's going to happen. It's
the
just,
time for talk is over. The time for action is
really,
here.
I love all of this stuff. It's so good. And then you see Cody fighting Jimmy backstage after Jey Uso defeated Shinsuke Nakamura.
Flag on the play. I'm calling timeout. I'm calling timeout.
Oh.
Now, again, the devil's always in the details. There's a moment backstage where New Day is talking to DIY. And in the background, Drew McIntyre is having a conversation with Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
Deep in the background.
And
we never find out what it is.
It was all over the WWE socials.
Right. It was all over. It wasn't a thing that was just like,
they did make sure.
I wish they hadn't done that. But sometimes,
but people are dumb,
sometimes you got to spoon feed your audience a little bit. I get that.
And it's WWE has still a very young audience. You can't really argue that.
But then the other thing that I thought was interesting was just before the main event match between Jey Uso and Shinsuke Nakamura, just as Jey is about to go out, Seth comes up in Gorilla and says, something feels weird tonight, man. Something feels off. So just know, if you need us, me and Seth are there. And then Jey goes out.
Or Seth and Cody.
Or me and
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
They're different people, right, Jake? Look, Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes are two separate and different hair.
They're both whitish
everything.
dudes with four-letter names. They both. I mean, it's
CR, SR, same difference.
same.
Depending on the language, it sounds the
right
same.
next to each other.
He says one used to be blonde.
Yeah, but he says right. Yeah, they're two sides of the same coin. No, but yeah, he says if you need us, we're there. And then he goes out, and there also was the moment where Jay was cutting his promo, and then Solo and Jimmy show up, so something's going on. But then, But then, like you said, they're fighting in the back. Jay gets his win. Seth gets a Future Shock DDT put on him.
Yeah.
Everybody's wiped out, and then they're fighting in the back. It's Jimmy and Cody, and then here comes Solo.
And Cody's messing him up.
Cody,
right?
Yeah, Cody
was sick because Cody was kicking his ass. It was like Jimmy shows up and Jimmy's like blah blah blah, and then Cody turns around and
throws him out the
beating
door, and then Solo comes over.
Solo
and he just
appears.
immediately starts going in on Solo.
But the best moment, though, Jake, the
Yeah.
the moment that none of us had expected, because we literally said it last week. I'm telling you, this show is the best show on the internet, okay? Because we are like predicting this stuff, okay? We are cooking on this show on a regular basis because we said that we needed to see something. We needed some fisticuffs. We needed a contact. We needed a thing.
Physicality, baby.
And DJ said, hold my Tremana, because he did just that. And what was even better was the crowd shock and reaction.
That he was still
the
there.
moment that The Rock showed up, that he went, boom, and then everyone was like, wow, like you heard the audience, literally a collective like, what the hell is happening right now? And then he beats the ever-living shit out of Cody Rhodes. I thought he was going to throw him over the side.
I did too. I was like, is he about to murder him?
Because that would have been awesome. That would have been awesome.
That's the Allstate Arena. He would have fallen about 8 feet. He would have been okay.
But it was darkness underneath. It was darkness, okay? And we saw Squid Game. We know what happens, all right?
And it was raining.
The thing,
it was like a fucking anime ending, dude.
Well, it was Chicago, so it's pretty much raining every day
it's a
out
pretty
there,
given, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We're not Florida. It's our
Seattle.
thing is that it's 22 degrees, Tuesday, and then it's 70 on Wednesday right now. That's our gimmick right now.
That's fair. Well, I mean, tell you what, The Rock walking outside, 22 degrees weather, his nipples were probably so hard he could cut glass with them shits.
For sure.
Because he was wearing a silk shirt. Yeah. Don't matter, though.
The rain was great.
That's probably how
great atmosphere.
That's probably how Cody
played it.
The rain
was a great atmosphere.
That's probably how Cody played it. He just went up against The Rock's nipple. Rock, quick, give me the nip. Just got the cut off.
Yeah.
But dude, I put this out on Twitter, and I think because it's worth noting. So I don't know if it was intentional, but
yes, it
was, it seems like everyone's telling me it was fucking brilliant. Okay. The Rock beating the shit out of Cody. Cody just struggling for air as he's just getting hit. And then he's choking Cody over the ledge. And in the background, it's a picture of John Cena and Stone Cold Steve Austin. But honestly, they didn't really focus on the Stone Cold one all that much. They focused more on John. And I just thought that was like really clever because I think it illustrates that we are in a new era of professional wrestling right now. This isn't like the PG era in the way that it was during the McMahon regime. This is something else. It's something evolved. Rock dropped so many curse words in the span of a few minutes and an F-bomb. And
Cody bled. He bled.
So, two things. To flag on the play with the truck thing a little bit. Everybody, Tiny, and I do believe there probably was some intentionality to it.
I mean, the way they shot it felt like that.
Having been to the Allstate Arena and knowing where the line the truck's up, that's where they are. So like, it's not like they moved anything to make that shot. Two, I've seen a lot of people say like, oh, I've seen all the shots they've done backstage. They've had WrestleMania trucks, and this one had those two. So I'll point this out: they didn't wrap a new truck just for this shot.
Of course.
That was the television production truck. It has looked like that for years and years and years. It's had Cena and Austin on the backside of it.
Okay.
But it's very, I'm sure maybe when they were planning the shot, it was like, oh shit, this looks great.
Well, you could see
what a
the
nice
shot.
little convenience.
Because
So,
they
like,
could have just zoomed in, right? They could have zoomed in on Cody and The Rock, but instead they panned that camera a little bit more. They gave that
framed it-
space.
Yes, they framed it so that
Yes.
Cena was still in.
I think it was a nice little like edit. I don't think it was like they moved that truck there in that position. Using
Yes,
that,
I
like,
agree with that.
That truck was already there, but I think they gave it a little extra attention because it was like, ooh, that's
Like
nice.
whoever was the director probably
Yeah.
looked at that and then was like, damn, this
Yes.
is going to be a nice shot because we got the white background that's going to pop off nicely with the light. And then on top of that, you're going to have the juxtaposition of Cena, you know, like the darling of the PG era, right? Like right there doing his like trademark, you can't see me. And you just have like a bloody beatdown in the rain.
Yeah. Which,
The
and
only-
I think was this would take internet sleuths. I'm counting on you. And it's important to the story. The first intentional blade job or blood job in WWE since PG began
In a decade?
9 years ago or whatever.
like-
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they've had a couple people hard way. Brock
Sure.
has hard wayed a few
Yeah.
times and stuff like that. People
I
getting
remember the
noses
Randy.
busted.
Yeah.
The hard way on Randy
yeah.
was brutal.
So they've kind of let things slide here and there with heart, but they've never let anybody blade and intentionally get blood until last night.
Yeah,
And you knew exactly when it was going to happen. When the camera cut, when the camera brought right over to him, and then the Rock's like
brought the
popping
camera-
off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a really smart movement.
My only counter to the truck argument is it felt lit. It felt like they lit
It could
that
have been.
truck on purpose.
Well, I mean, they're outside of the Allstate
There's
arena,
also
so-
building lights, just kind of.
Yeah, they have building lights on. I'm looking at the
But-
shot right now. They have building lights on it. It's white too, so it's kind of hard to like. Light will reflect quite aggressively off.
I know,
of that,
but
right?
like you
So-
said, if they could have very well made the decision to not show that. But
That's true.
But I mean, if you think like I don't know. I just think about
It's the camera movement.
I just
It's
think
the-
about the poetry of who was John Cena's last match that he lost was Solo Sikoa.
Yeah.
You know, and
And he
then
can
a
come back
picture, and then the picture of Rock's greatest rival.
I don't know if it's
I don't know.
connected. I don't know if it's
And it may
connected.
not be.
I think
It
it's
may not be.
more-
But this is the fun of it because if we
Yeah,
are
true,
if,
true,
if,
true.
That's
if they are wanting to train us that details matter, which it seems that they are
Well,
now.
yeah.
Granted,
Yeah.
you know that they did tweet about
hard thing to train your
what's he
audience, but
talking
they're
about in the
doing
background. It's hard to not look at everything like that. So it could be it very well could be a swerve. It could just be screwing with everybody, and maybe it's wishful thinking. But if I hear trumpets or glass break on Sunday, I'm going to drop kick everyone in the room that I'm with.
so
Like,
that's yeah.
What a
yeah.
moment. And I just like, and it, God,
Jake, I
just
think
wanna
your
say
Avengers
this.
theory is going to happen.
That's what
I think it's going to happen.
Let me say this to the folks of you who are listening to this right now. If you or a loved one have ever wanted to get into wrestling and you've always said, I don't know, how am I going to jump in? When's the right time? Right now. Jump into
Right now.
wrestling right now.
Dude,
and
my
I'm not
producer for Valorant literally just messaged me and said, I watched the highlights from Raw last night. That shit was awesome. And and they're only really getting into it because I keep talking about it week in, week out at work.
Yeah.
People are once you see it, you're like, this is fucking entertaining.
Yeah, and
like, no matter how you
it's-
slice it, this is straight up entertaining.
Yeah, and
words
it's
are hard.
not just WWE, it's AEW. Like, there is something for everybody. There is something
Beautiful.
for everybody. You want more focus on the wrestling, you got AEW. You want something in between, you got TNA. You want, like, there is something for everyone.
And
right
remember, you can get TNA for $1 freaking dollar on YouTube. Okay,
A dollar.
Give it a shout.
Please, for the love of all things holy and sacred in this world, support more professional wrestling for a singular dollar.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. If you don't get guac on that
Inflation be damned.
burrito, you can have TNA for 3 months, man. Like,
That's right.
what do you
That's
do?
right.
A year.
Yeah.
That's right, baby.
But like, man, this just feels like this feels like the series finale of WWE. Like, it feels like we're bringing all these people back. We're building up all of this stuff. It's the end of the McMahon era. It's the beginning of the Triple H era. We are seeing like just this new style, this new version of wrestling storytelling that is growing and expanding before our very eyes.
We literally made this podcast at the perfect time.
This is the time to get into wrestling if you want to get into wrestling. And let me go ahead and tell you, you want to get into wrestling. It's fucking awesome. It's better, and it's as good and better than it's ever been. Like, this is the time. It's so good. I'm so excited that I'm about to be right, and it's the Avengers that it's going to happen at WrestleMania. So much can happen. Even if that doesn't happen, I trust that whatever direction they're heading is going to be incredible. I have not been this hyped for a WrestleMania, for a pay-per-view, for like anything in my own personal life for so long. I can't wait for Mania.
I will say, though, as soon as Jake gets done telling everyone how awesome everything is, I'm going to tell you what I didn't think was awesome.
Go ahead.
About the ending to Raw.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Overall, good. Obviously, everybody's talking about it. Vibe check is there, all that. So,
yes,
kind of small things that I wish would have. One, like the beatdown thing with The Rock, I think was about 3 minutes too long. There was a good chunk of it where he was just going, "Oh, see that now, kid? You know, what you think about that? What you think about?" There was
Look
like
at
2
you now.
minutes of just that.
Yeah.
Look at you now. Look at you now. What you think about that? What, huh? You thought you could do this to The Rock? But I kind of think it was like 2 full minutes of just like that. I think we could have gotten to the truck, the bleed, and the belt and everything, which is all great, a little bit quicker.
Okay.
Just felt a little dragged out. Second, and I've said this before, and it's not a deal breaker, but I thought it could have had a nice moment to it too. We talked about it a little bit ago, losing the thread of Roman Reigns in this a little bit. And I thought it would have been such an awesome thing. I don't know what you could have done it two ways. You could have done it as soon as he throws Cody through the door to the outside. There's the tribal chief standing in the ring. Or almost at the very end, boom, boom, as Cody's bleeding in The Rock's hand, Roman walks up. You see shoes. It pans up. And like, this duo is what you're facing at WrestleMania. You know what I mean? Like, this duo, and then ultimately me. The final boss is the heavy for Roman.
I have thoughts.
If it's intentional, like, again, to lead to more like Roman Rock dissension at some point, I get it. But part of me just heading into WrestleMania as it is, which we're going to finish night 2, the absolute pinnacle of WrestleMania will be Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns one way or the other. So I would have loved that. I don't think it killed it, but I would have liked that.
Yeah. I have thoughts and opinions on the matter.
All right. Here's the deal. Okay. Guys, Jake, Matt, I agree with you. I understand. Jake, we are in the greatest era of professional wrestling. 100% with you on that one. Matt, was 3 minutes too long? Totally agree with that. Now, here's the thing where I divert, but it is a little bit of fantasy booking, brother, so let's go ahead and strap on in. So here's how it works. Remember when a few weeks back, Jimmy went to Raw, and then Roman was like, "What were you doing on Raw?" And then Jimmy was like, "Oh, the wise man told me to go," and then blah blah blah. And then Roman had this like look on his face, and he was like, And then he was like, "Well, I told the wise man to send you, so good job, right?" Why would Roman ask that question? That's weird, right?
Yeah.
Paul Heyman was on Monday Night Raw talking to Drew McIntyre. Very, very weird. Right? Roman he's kind of coming into this with a point to prove that he can beat Cody. He beat Cody before, and even though there were shenanigans, Roman wanting to solidify his run, his career, because he's on track to beat Hogan, which, by the way, don't think he's going to do. He's on track to beat Hogan, and I feel like that is going to mean something to him, right? Because guess who's also kind of doing one hell of a run, and he's looking at making it look really easy, is Gunther. And he's like as legitimate of a champion at this promotion as you possibly can get. Now, it's not necessarily connected here, but the reason why I'm saying that is because Roman has not had that same kind of legitimacy when it came to defending his titles. So I would imagine that Roman feels like he can beat Cody, but The Rock just shows up on Monday Night Raw on a show that Roman is not in, right? Unannounced, because again, the commentators were shocked, everyone was shocked. Rock went into business for himself, okay? And he brought the bloodline with him. And I don't think Roman was aware that this was going to happen because they had their thing. They met their side of the deal. But then out of nowhere, the bloodline show up on Raw turf to like mess up, these guys, mostly Cody. And we're only a few weeks away from Mania, which Cody already alluded to is like the downtime, the awkward downtime. And this is going to affect Cody a little bit. Now, is Roman going to take a wounded Cody in a match? 100%. But I can't help but feel like little by little, we're starting to see The Rock take over the bloodline in a way that Roman is not fully aware of. And it's going to happen under his nose because who would you rather align yourself with? The guy who claims to be the tribal chief or the guy who calls himself the final freaking boss?
Well,
I don't know. I kind of go with the final boss.
And another thing, it's something that I thought about too, is what we saw on Raw was a far more elegant version of what Roman tried to do on SmackDown this past Friday.
Yeah. There are parallels. There are parallels here. And that's why I think that there's like a serious, like, this is going to a Roman Rock kind of situation.
I feel like, it's got
It has to.
Yeah.
But I really do think that this is how you get Roman to become a good guy. Because you could use The Rock as a bad guy, which is why I said I think The Rock is sticking around past Mania. I think he's going to be involved in this. You can even see him, like he usually gets into ring shape, but he's leaning down even more now. So I think he's going to do more matches. Not like, he's not going to wrestle on SmackDown or something like that, but I do genuinely believe that he's going to stick around for at least another year.
And Rock's having fun.
Of doing whatever this is.
Rock's having fun too. You can tell. And
Yeah.
I'll give him credit. He's doing the best acting of his life right now. I mean, he really is. He's really leaning into this final boss role. And man, I buy it. Like, he feels dangerous. He feels powerful. He feels a little
stronger than
unhinged.
Roman.
He feels stronger than Roman.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all of this is intentional.
Oh,
because
yeah.
if Triple H is training the audience to pay attention to the freaking details, then this has to be the biggest detail of them all. It has to be. Like, it's so perfectly done at this juncture now. Like, now we just sit back and we just enjoy. We enjoy the show. It's so good.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's so much to talk about. We can go into it for hours on end, but we have to end it somewhere.
Yeah.
So let's start with a new segment that we're gonna do every single week, and I also want to give a shout out because I had asked our Discord, and by the way, we have a Discord, so please join us on there. We have a great group of folks who are on there right now. I think we're like maybe under 50 strong. So keep small group, keep coming in, keep yapping it up, share your perspectives and all that good stuff. And one of our viewers, I think it's just H. Because I have stream mode on right now. So let me go ahead and turn that off so I could see the actual name. Han Gang King said that it would be a really, really cool idea to have a common segment And we, take the advice, that our listeners give us, and we want to implement it. So we're actually doing some fun stuff this week. We got two new segments. One begets the other. First and foremost, because Jake loves the 24/7 title so damn much, we decided to create the Rebooked 24/7 Champion of the Week. It's a wrestler that we think was just particularly awesome, and we can debate and we can nominate who we think is the Champion of the Week. This will be the first one. So I'm going to start first and say Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre is my nomination for Champion of the Week because I think he single-handedly has been keeping the World Heavyweight Championship relevant with him winning an Elimination Chamber, with his promos, with the way that he's been doing everything. And this week in particular, I thought it was the most boss shit ever to come out there with a kilt, especially after Sentinels just won the championship. We had our first Scottish champion in Drew Sparks. Sorry, it was a little bit of a rant there for a minute, but I just want to point it out. All right? It has nothing to do with it, but it has something to do with it with me, brother. And I'm a big Drew fan. So what do you guys think? Who's your nomination for Champion of the Week?
You know what? I can go with Drew. I can
2 for Drew?
Yeah, I can line up with that because I just think, especially in the early weeks we talked about this, is how it all seemed to be really shoved to the side. He's done such a good job, and he has cooked and consistently.
Week in and week out.
And to go out there this week with CM Punk, one of the best guys on the mic, and I think outshine him and kick ass. Yeah, I'm all for Drew.
Okay. Jake, you're
As
on the
our
Drew train?
inaugural.
As our inaugural 24/7 Rebooked champion.
Well, it's already 2-3.
Of the
So
No, hey,
but we still
you
want to
can
hear
still-
your thought. Yeah,
you
you
could
could
still.
you could sway me.
you could sway. You know what I
I'm
mean?
very
He's an
impressionable.
undecided
No,
voter. He's an undecided voter.
I'm completely fine with Drew getting it. I mean, everything that you said is great. The one thing, there is one person I want to give credit to, though. We talked about how important it is to give a title prestige, right? And how important that is to put a title over. So my Rebooked 24/7 Champion of the Week is me, because we just named a title after
out.
the title
Get
that I
out.
put over on the
God.
show last
Oh, my
week.
God.
Me.
You
This
freaking
fucking guy.
typical heel. Typical heel Jake.
Shut
coming
his
in.
mic off.
Oh, unbelievable.
Boot
You know what,
him.
though? Wow, we'll see what the comment section has to say about
But
that.
Drew
Let us know who
McIntyre.
your
It's Drew. You're
who
right.
your champion of the week is. We go with Drew, but Jake,
Yeah.
you make a solid case. I won't lie. You make
Number
a solid
one
case.
contender.
I'll make
All
sure
right,
though.
Can
I'll
we
make
all-
sure in
can
the
we all-
graphic that
can
put
we
your
all
face
give
on there.
a thumbs up for Drew McIntyre, our first ever 24/7 Rebooked Champion of the Week.
Yes, yay! Way to go,
Congratulations,
Drew.
Drew.
Congratulations, my friend. You deserve it. We would have given it to Samoa Joe, but honestly, if it would have just been unfair at that point. I'm sure you understand. Now, before we wrap things up, our question of the week. Okay, this is if you've made it this far into the video, if you've made it this far on listening on Spotify, I'll make sure I put it on Spotify as well, so that you can answer the question on there. Who is the next person to bleed on the road to WrestleMania? Now, remember, this. I want to be very clear here. It doesn't have to happen. It could just be completely made up. Again, it's wrestling. It's all completely made up. So have fun with this. Jake, you got one that I know you wanted to say. I got one too. Who's yours?
I think the next person to bleed on the road to WrestleMania is Ric Flair, because he's going to get upset trying to figure out how to get on Peacock to watch WrestleMania, and he's just going to start bleeding instantaneously.
It happens.
Yeah,
It happens. It happens.
yeah.
Oh, well, mine is equally as silly. The next person I think is going to be on bleed on the road to WrestleMania is Jon Moxley. He's just going to show up on a random episode of TV, say some things in a belligerent manner, and then slice and then bleed everywhere, and then just walk out.
Yeah.
And that's what I want. I'd pop.
Fair enough. Well, for me, the next person to bleed along the road to WrestleMania is going to be Cody Rhodes again, because he signed up with Wheatley Vodka when he claimed to be a whiskey fan. And thank God for the final boss, who's I like a good tequila. That's fine too. Barrel-aged spirits for the win. Vodka, don't drink vodka, drink whiskey. I'm going to slam Cody Rhodes' face right into that logo again.
I'm going to agree with you. How can the American Nightmare support a Russian
He's
spirit?
a bourbon guy. He's told me he's a bourbon guy. He likes bourbon. He's friends with some of the same bourbon people I am, and yet he signs up to get his bus wrapped in vodka?
And fun fact,
Shame
Cody,
on Cody Rhodes.
Fun fact, Cody, bourbon is the only export that is unique to the United States only.
Wow.
Yeah. It is a unique product.
You're the
of
American
United States,
nightmare.
courtesy of the Declaration of 1964, son.
I did not know you guys were this passionate about whiskey or bourbon.
Check out Wrestling with Whiskey, brother. It's my alter ego.
Okay. Wait a minute. I wasn't ready for this.
Did you really not
I
know
knew about your wrestling with whiskey. Yeah, of course I knew. And I see your posts all the time about whiskey. I don't want to get attacked over here, guys. I'm a wine guy.
Maybe
Okay,
GB's going to be the next one to bleed.
He might.
Oh, I could be at the rate that we're going at. Oh boy. All right, guys. Well, that's it for us. Let us know who you think's going to bleed next week, or rather, who you think is going to bleed on the road to WrestleMania. We love to hear your wild and ridiculous theories, especially if you made it this far. Make it seem as absurd as possible, so that this way people would read the comments and be like, the hell are they talking about? That's what we want. In any case, thank you all so much for listening to This Week on Rebooked. Make sure you like, you subscribe right here on YouTube. If you were watching live watching on YouTube, we thank you so much. If you're listening on a podcast platform of your choice, we thank you so much for that. Make sure you check us out on social media as well. For myself, GB, Jake, and Matt, we thank you so much for tuning in to another Rebooked. And don't forget to tune in on Friday for a bonus episode where we rate the WWE title rankings. See you later, folks. Peace.